If your postcode ranks among Britain's priciest, odds are your wealth is still controlled by a Roman decision made 2,000 years ago. Why do the corridors of modern prosperity trace the lines of vanished legionary highways? Today, we reveal how ancient roads still dictate who gets rich, and why just a few miles can mean centuries of lost fortune. Roman engineers didn't just carve lines across the countryside for the sake of it. They built with purpose. Their roads cut the shortest possible paths between forts, ports, and river crossings, often ignoring hills and valleys when a straight line was preferable. The agger, a raised embankment of stone and gravel, kept the surface dry and solid so legions could march in any weather. Every mile mattered for supply wagons and messengers, because a direct route meant faster movement of troops, grain, and orders from London to the edge of the empire. Choosing these alignments was not about serving ancient villages or scenic views. It was about reaching places of strategic value as efficiently as possible. Over time, these corridors became the backbone for everything that followed, including medieval traders, coaching inns, and eventually the roads and railways of today. The original logic, speed, control, and access still shapes the skeleton of Britain's connections, even if the soldiers are long gone. On today's map, the lines drawn by Roman engineers are anything but ancient history. The A5 cuts northwest from London, tracing the exact path of Watling Street for mile after mile. In towns like Towcester and Dunstable, the main road still runs along the same raised agger laid down nearly 2,000 years ago. The A29 in Sussex mirrors the route of Stane Street, linking London to Chichester just as the Romans intended. Even where these highways bend to skirt later developments, their straight line origins are obvious from above. Sections of the A1 shadow Ermine Street, while the Fossway's arrow straight stretches are visible as the A46 and local lanes. Studies mapping Roman routes over current road networks reveal that Britain's trunk roads have not just inherited the names, but the very footprints of their Roman ancestors. What began as military supply lines now serve as arteries of daily life, their alignments shaping every journey, every delivery, and every property boundary along the way. Medieval kings and abbots knew exactly where the money flowed along the bones of Roman roads. By the 12th and 13th centuries, towns like Leicester, Lincoln, Cirencester, and Newark sat at key crossings or stretches of the Fossway, and their fortunes became tied to royal parchment as much as to stone and gravel. Charters granted by the crown or powerful lords did not just allow a weekly market or an annual fair. They locked in the right to collect tolls, set up stalls, and keep profits close to home. In Leicester, burgesses paid a fixed sum to the king each year, then kept the rest, while royal exemptions freed their merchants from fees across the realm. Lincoln's citizens enjoyed similar privileges, with charters confirming their rights to fairs and toll exemptions, turning the city into a magnet for traders from across the region. Cirencester's market was controlled by the abbey, its rights confirmed by royal grants, ensuring that wealth from passing traffic stayed in local hands. Nearby villages, without such charters, even if only a few miles off the Fossway, saw little of this prosperity. Tax records from the 13th and 14th centuries show higher revenues and denser populations in these chartered towns, setting them on a different economic path from their rural neighbors. Stagecoaches thundered through Towcester in the 18th century, stopping at inns that lined the same route Roman legions once marched. By the 1700s, Parliament had handed this ancient corridor to the Watling Street Turnpike Trust, which borrowed money to lay new stone surfacing and set up toll gates along what is now the A5. Investors saw profit in every mile, as tolls from carts and coaches paid for constant improvements. Towcester thrived as a classic coaching town, with the Saracen's Head and the brave Old Oak welcoming weary travelers on their way from London to Chester. The rhythm of arrivals and departures turned the high street into a round-the-clock service hub, all because of a road alignment chosen centuries earlier. Meanwhile, on the Fossway, plans to widen the A46 have repeatedly brought archaeologists racing ahead of the bulldozers. Under the new tarmac, they have found Roman farmsteads, roadside cemeteries, and even buried coin hoards, evidence that these corridors have carried value and hidden secrets for 2,000 years. Victorian railway engineers faced a familiar puzzle: where to lay new tracks for the fastest, most profitable routes north from London. The answer often lay just beneath their boots. The Great Northern Railway, completed in the 1850s, swept out of King's Cross and ran almost parallel to Ermine Street, the ancient Roman road to York. Parliamentary plans and company minutes show that following this established corridor meant easier land acquisition and a ready-made chain of towns to serve. The railway's straight alignment, cutting through Hertfordshire and Lincolnshire, mirrored the logic of Roman surveyors 2,000 years earlier: direct, efficient, and built to last. Even in the age of steam, the old Roman spine quietly set the direction for Britain's next leap in connectivity. A housing analyst lays out the numbers. Controlling for distance to rail, schools, and city centers, properties within a Roman road corridor show a measurable premium, even after adjusting for modern amenities. Satellite nightlight data, those glowing webs on the map, trace the same ancient lines lighting up the corridors first paved by legionaries. London, once Roman Londinium, sits at the apex, with average house prices nearly double the national figure. The data leaves little room for doubt. 2,000 years on, the Roman network still casts a long economic shadow. Property lines shift, but ancient decisions endure. Today's postcode lottery still runs on Roman blueprints, reminding us that the ground beneath our feet shapes who prospers centuries later.